Hello, my name is Fraser Simons. This is my channel, Springboard Thought. I'm catching up slowly on tags, so bear with me. I had a very low energy month for March, and I've been juggling a bunch of stuff as well. So there hasn't been tags the last 2 or 3 weeks, but going forward there should be one every week, just like normal for the last 6 months prior to that anyway. So this one I'm doing is the birth year book tag, and I was tagged by both Duncan McCurdy and Roz at Scallydandling About the Books. Both channels are excellent. Both are reading very different things. Duncan McCurdy reads like a lot of crime, usually, I guess you wouldn't say it's classic, but it's classic in the way that we think of cars 25 years or older, that kind of stuff. Probably even double that for some of them, but not Victorian stuff, more like pulp stuff. And Roz reads literally everything, basically, although I would say more classics and specific literary fiction from across the world. She's literally scallydandling about the world with books. She's trying to read a book from every country, and she does a video on each one that is fantastic. And then just her regular wrap-ups are eclectic and always interesting, and I always add books to the TBR when I watch her. So you should check out both channels. If anyone else tagged me, let me know. These are the only ones that I'm aware of. And now that I've hit 500, you can actually mention me if you have hit 500. So I don't know why YouTube puts it at the 500 mark, but that's where we're at. Otherwise, you can just let me know in comments and stuff like that. I'm generally pretty good at watching everybody's videos, but the last few weeks, like I said, low energy, so I might have missed some. Who knows? So this tag was created by Criminali, who similar tastes, I think, to Duncan McCurdy, like pulp, crime type fiction. I haven't seen as many videos of his as I have Duncan McCurdy, so I couldn't speak conclusively about that, but from what I know, it's mostly like pulp / crime / like thriller stuff, and generally older but not classic. So there's only a few questions. First one, have you read any books published in the year you were born? Yes, I definitely have. I've read a few, and I have even more on my TBR, like The Handmaid's Tale. I'm a bad Canadian. Perfume, I have, and will probably be reading this year. Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, White Noise, and Blood Music. All are books that I want to get to. And the books that I have read, Ender's Game, that's the only one that I've read, even though I quite enjoyed the book, knowing what we do know about the author now with his, at least at the time that I read the book, it was fairly well known that he is anti-LGBT, anti-gay especially, and fairly proud of it, and has espoused those views in a codified article type form, so I don't really need to be reading him. Lonesome Dove, excellent book. The Vampire Lestat, I remember only vaguely reading this, but I'm pretty sure that I liked it, as well as Interview with the Vampire. Blood Meridian, masterpiece. Hardboiled Wonderland, strangely horny but pretty good. Murakami. Wish Song of Shannara, commercial fiction. Chapter House Dune. It managed to finish the series out, but by no means is the final trilogy of Dune books anywhere as close to the initial trilogy in my mind. And then Cruel Lie, which is a Piers Anthony Xanth book, which, as far as those go, it's probably one of my favorites within that series, yet he manages to make, I think, every single book that he ever put out problematic in some way, so it's also not the top. The favorite it asks you to pick is between Lonesome Dove and Blood Meridian, which is interesting because they're both westerns, but one is post-western, I would say, the Blood Meridian, and I think that's more interesting to me than Lonesome Dove, even though Lonesome Dove kind of is a Southpaw sidewinder and comes out of left field and like didn't see it coming. Like, I generally don't like Westerns, I would say, yet Lonesome Dove was incredible. I'll go with Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy just because I think it was more engaging. Probably, yeah, the prose were better crafted than Lonesome Dove, I would say, which are more straightforward and more the plot and the characters thing in Lonesome Dove, whereas I think every aspect of the craft for Blood Meridian differs and is superior. So we'll go with that. Have you read any books published in the year you turned 18? Yes, but it's actually a pretty sparse book in total, at least for me it is. I looked at the top books of like 100 or so, something like that, for both of these lists, and then just went through until I started seeing stuff. So it looks like Order of the Phoenix, The Da Vinci Code, Curious Case of the Dog in the Nighttime, Oryx and Crake, Shutter Island, Moneyball, Y the Last Man Volume 1, and Diary by Palahniuk, Marvel's 1602, a collected edition, and Superman Red Sun, which I was actually struggling to figure out if Miller had written anything that I really connected with. That's a good one. That's a great Superman story, actually. And choosing a favorite of all of those yet again, I would probably choose Shutter Island of all of those ones. I had a phenomenal experience with that, even though it was adapted into a movie, which I saw first, and I guessed the outcome of the movie within the first 10 minutes because it's very explicit with its dialogue. I had waited and read the book until this year or last year, something like that. In the last like 5-6 months I've read it, and it was a really excellent read despite knowing the outcome, which is a pretty phenomenal thing to pull off with a mystery. The last 10 books that I read, how many were published before you were born? Exactly one, JR by Gaddis. And do I prefer them to newer books? I guess you could say yes. Like, I thought JR was a masterpiece of his kind, although it is very intentional, and that intention could jibe with somebody or not because it is deliberately a slog in some places to elicit an emotion, which it cashes in on at the end. But will people want to trudge through that in order to get the payoff? Some readers will, some readers won't. I respected it even as it pissed me off. So in the last 10 books, I think it definitely is the highest acclaimed, I guess, and also highest rated by me, so I definitely prefer it to the other books that I read, which were all pretty new releases. Of the last 10 books that I read JR, Small Things Like These, 4 stars, Tigana, 4 stars, Satellite Love, 4 stars, Kindred, 4 stars, Reptile Memoirs, 3 stars, These Precious Days, 4 stars, The Devotion of Suspect X, 3 stars, Check Out 19, I DNF'd, and A Ghost in the Throat, which actually I did give 5 stars and did think it was incredible. I would still have to give it to JR though. What's your favorite movie from your birth year and why? I think it would have to be Back to the Future, and there's not too much actually in contention for 1985 that is like competing with it, to be honest. I think Back to the Future is more or less a masterpiece. I know the script is actually taught at film school as like a perfect script, so there's that. The acting, I mean, hit and miss, but it's definitely one of the funnest movies that I remember consuming when I was a kid, and it holds up very well. I definitely watch it like every time there's a new format, like DVD to Blu-ray to 4K, that kind of thing. What is your favorite movie from the year you turned 18 and why? and that is going to be Matchstick Men, I think. It's between this and Kill Bill Volume 1. Matchstick Men is superior in other ways, though, just because it came out of, like, left field again. It's a movie with Nicolas Cage and Sam Rockwell, I think is his name, the funny guy. And it's about two con men who are trying to pull off, like, the last con. Nothing goes the way that they think. Things unfold in ways that you are probably not going to predict as a viewer, and it is just like endearing, surprising. The comedy beats actually land. People probably have done this tag already, but in case they haven't, I will tag Bob the Booker, Sean the Bookmaniac, Mark Nash, Lindy's Magpie Reads, I don't think has done this, but possibly has. Gunpowder Fiction and Plot would always be fun to watch. All of their tags are great. And Britta Bowler we will do. Anyway, that wraps up the tag. I will see you next week. I have my weekly videos always coming out, but again, unless something goes awry, tag videos should flow as well. So Monday, Tuesdays should be solid again. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video. Bye.